You got one. Yeah, all the time. Come on now. I feel better. Yeah. I have the deepest bias to record the meeting. So it's been a much.
Great, okay, thank you.
And two meetings. So I quit smoking early. Yeah. We went to Toronto. You went to Toronto with it. I was like, it's horrible. Well, I had, but yeah, I'll be in the middle.
I can't even get into my. I can't even get into my. I said there. So maybe there's some, cause I read them last night, maybe there's a whole issue with our, yes, and I don't know that, did you try to get into captioning for our library now? No problem. I couldn't get to the email, but I couldn't, like I said, all that came out.
You're so healthy.
I know.
It was the college years. That's an addictive. Now you're a beast. Now we're very sliding backwards up the mountains of socials.
The mobile, this one work, see, I was on my phone, that's not my.
Jamie's on.
I'm fine for that, but I'm still, let me just see if I can get it. Because it's, you wouldn't want me in.
Yeah.
Would you wanna?
I think that she was in the teen room.
Okay. That's fine, I just. And I can't get out, and I feel really silly.
Okay, this happened this week.
The alibi, I should crime and then you want to be brothers.
Very, different people do different bookers, so I think the county does
Yeah.
mystery
That's
one.
true, I think it is like another.
Emily. They started off to.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm about for all of them, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
that's like.
Correct.
And do they have a list of what all the books are
Usually they do.
on the website?
I think, yeah, on the website, or not on the website, in the county, or I would say like this one selection is very useful.
Right. It's completely
Right, it's
different,
not,
but it's the same.
so there may be an issue with green colors. Do you cherry
And
pick
if you
that
get
in?
the same copies or kids.
Will you try to get into the?
And I did see them on the
yesterday. And did you get in okay? Yeah.
like, I couldn't get it, and I'm like, yeah, that's the, revised like draft.
And it's done, and it won't be weird.
Okay. Close to down the board.
Is.
Dan,
No, I, the Katie was just trying to see.
I think.
But I'm not able to.
Which I found so.
That's a separate thing as to why. But we'll ignore that.
I don't think you were.
I know, no, I know that's. No, I knew it was coming. No, but I get it, there's sort of these, right, hardly anyone's interested, but.
the whole town. Well, I don't think there's any, I don't think any, I think that it was very good. So, did you hear anything from Frank?
I didn't hear anything from Frank.
Gene is out there, I think. Yeah, so, but sometimes that's happened, sometimes it's not.
Right.
I can't get into my, I'll try it again, but it wasn't letting me into the host. For me to see if Frank sent me a message. Hold on. Try one more time.
Yeah, if you like to work by yourself, make all decisions by yourself.
Yeah, it's not, it's telling me it doesn't like my email or my password, which has always worked, so I don't know.
Don, do you know if there's any issue during the phone?
I just logged into Piano, which isn't exactly, but
It doesn't even want to pull it up on my phone at all. And the message I keep getting on my laptop is that my email or my password isn't correct. But I don't know that it's. Okay, well, we'll figure it out if Frank's either gonna come or it's not gonna come. So I think we won't wait for Jean because the city loading time for parking can be quick or slow. Right? And that's what I think she's doing on it. So today is Monday, June 10th. And I would like to call to order a regular meeting of the Saratoga Springs Library Board of Trustees. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Our first item on our agenda is the approval of our May meeting minutes. There were a couple of meeting minute changes today. I believe this is the most up to date, correct? What's in the current packet? Terry, did you have a chance to then review those
yes.
with what changes you and I suggested? Okay. So does anyone have any questions about the meeting minutes from our meeting in May? And if not, I would. There's Jean. Does someone like to make a motion?
Where are we in motion?
We're asking for a motion to
Okay.
approve the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Terry. All in favor? That approves. Now we have the expenditures. Actually. So that isn't correct in there. The packet for today is just indicating, which one are you on? The minutes we just approved, because what's showing up in the packet, our final packet for 610 is. All right. All right, sorry. Something else was showing up back here. Expenditures, yes. You have a question? We're looking at the May prepaid check 72253 72255 totaling $3,600.72, and the June warrant check 72256 72341 totaling $173,614.91. And those are up there for you to see. Someone like to make a motion to approve those expenditures?
So moved.
Thanks, Carol. And second. Nancy, all in favor? Pass.
Carol.
And Nancy second. All right, and now we are on the financial reports, the May prepaids and June warrant summary sheet, the budget report, and the income report. So does anyone have any questions on these? We need to see something up there, Nancy, since you couldn't open them. Okay,
So our year is up in July, right?
this is our last month. So this report goes through May, June. We begin a new fiscal year in July. So, right, so when you're looking at the top of the expenditure to budget report, it indicates we're at 92% of the year. And that is an easy way then to look at the percent of the budget and where we're at along that far right column. And then you can see on the income report and income report as well. Can you just scroll down a little bit more, John? There, we only have one more set. There's a miscellaneous, $265.84. Do you have any idea what that is? I know Tanya's not here to. She didn't put it in the notes.
I don't, I'm sorry,
Okay,
but I can definitely find out and answer your question.
okay. And there's a $5.41 donation. I wonder.
I mean, that's often if people aren't paying, then they say keep the change.
Oh, okay. Well, if no one has any questions about the budget report or the income report, would someone like to make a motion to approve our financial reports? Second, thanks. All in favor?
So, it may be, and I don't know, Jamie's not here because she's at a desk right now, but miscellaneous is where you've been paying for things from in the library, things.
Well, that's income.
But this is income.
Oh,
It might be the summer reading shirt.
Oh,
last
it
year.
could be, right, because, that is also where we put income, when, if we're buying staff logo wear and people are paying for it.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't mind just asking her, and then we can just put it in the notes. So before we then begin our regular meeting, Sarah, would you like to move up to the top of the agenda rather than staying through the whole meeting?
Well, yes, but I don't know.
Well, I would consider that highly respectful. This is Sarah Dallas. She's the director of the Southern Adirondack Library System and a good friend of our library. And she is here for her yearly visit. So why don't you share what things you would like to share with us, and then we'll see the board.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sharing the Sal strategic plan. I only brought 2 copies, but it's available online. And Ike has a copy and Terry has a copy, but it is available online. I'd be afraid to make enough copies because Jennifer might yell at me. Yeah, I'm trying to be sustainable. As you have to do a strategic plan, as do we. And our strategic plan, our community are the libraries and the staff of the libraries and the trustees of the libraries. You are our community. So thank you for being such a wonderful, wonderful library. And I'm going to take a moment to say, I have one more day as a library trustee, the school district public library. Tomorrow my term ends. I love the school year. Anyway, so, we asked everyone, what do you want SALS to do? How can we support your work and your work that you provide to the community? So we found out resoundingly that joint automation and Polaris is number one. That is your catalog, that is your network. Don probably could tell you more about the IT part of it, but we're behind the curtain and keeping all of that running. Delivery, you are so generous. You are so generous with your materials that you lend out to the other libraries. The least we could do is have a reliable delivery service, moving the materials among the libraries back and forth. Another thing was support from the SALS consultants. I'm available to help. Erica Freudenberger does outreach and strategic planning on all those wonderful things. And Jack Scott does IT, technology, and youth services. So Trevor might be working with Jack on different projects. Sharing e-resources. Every year, you may or may not know, we write a grant to Schenectady, not Schenectady County. This is so in my mind. I was going to say Saratoga County. Saratoga County Legislature for money to go towards the e-content. And they've been very, very generous to us. And the sharing of the e-resources and collaboration with the Mohawk Valley Library System. We evaluate our services every year, and that also is up on the SALS website. And thank you all. We got a 99% satisfaction in value, use, and services. So thank you for giving us such a great evaluation. I'm not going to go into a lot of information that's all here, but I'll just tell you that our vision is working with you to provide exceptional services to support thriving, resilient communities in Hamilton, Saratoga, Warren, and Washington counties. And our mission is to provide leadership, effective, and efficient services, continuing education and technology to support your library services to all of the residents in Hamilton, Saratoga, Warren, and Washington counties. We have some great pictures here. It's fun. I'm also here to tell you officially that I shared the JA fees for 2025. Your fees will go up as per what was agreed upon. It's not going to go up again in 2025, regardless of what the future brings.
So regardless of what's happening with Schenectady.
In 2025, this
That
is
would
what
be-
your
Okay.
fees will be.
And how far ahead will you know what that potential impact will be on the rest of the libraries moving forward?
2026, we do the budget planning for 2026, the end of this year.
Okay,
So it's 2 years. I don't think it's gonna make a big impact.
okay,
That's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling positive.
okay.
I'd be happy to talk about where we are in the process, if that's where you want to go after I finish, when we get to questions.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to remind you that trustee training is 2 hours a year. We have a lot of good resources on the SALS website, including Niche Academy. And I highly, highly, highly recommend the wonderful, she's kind of responsible for it, the HATS training, the trustee training with the using the trustee handbook. I think
Yeah.
it's blue now, it's no longer green, and it's fatter, but it's fatter because the print is bigger. They also added a couple of things, but happy to talk to you about any of the changes in that. I'd like this library, the trustees to consider joining the American Library Association's United for Libraries. The resources available to you from United for Libraries is amazing. And you also get access to something called Board Source. Very much worth the membership in the American Library Association. And I would be remiss not to say there's also the New York Library Association. Usually it's here, it seems like every year it's here in Saratoga. This year it's in Syracuse. So if you'd like to see beautiful downtown Syracuse, the NILA will be opening up early registration, I believe, soon, and Syracuse is a mere 2.5 hours away. But please drive slower than that. Construction grant cycle, the applications will be due at sales of the last day of the working week in August. Because in September, our board meets and the sales board decides the allocation of funds to the construction grants. And we don't have a meeting in October until after the deadline to library development. So we apologize in advance, but we have to speed it up just because of the way the sales board meetings fall out. We've been granted approximately $1.2 million for member libraries in sales and sales itself. So 50%, 75%, we have a lot more, about $200,000 more, $250,000 more to allocate to your very worthwhile projects. And I can walk in the different floors and say, okay, I remember that grant application. We're delighted to be able to make those awards. And the only thing is it has to be a new project. Anything that was done with these funds can't be, and anything that's bonding, you can't do a matching fund if it's a bonded project. Once again, I'm going to say, please join Unite Against Book Bans as the Saratoga Springs Public Library. Numbers mean a lot. Recently, there have been some wonderful court winnings, especially in Texas, where a school district was required to put the books back on the shelves because it was a violation of the First Amendment. In this district, they wanted to remove books of certain content that had to do with racial themes, books written by people of color, books written by people transgender or LGBTQ writers or content on that. And the courts, so exciting. I lived on Long Island when there was the Island Trees. It was a big case, and they quoted that case saying that these books need to be back on the shelves. So it was a victory, democracy in action. We'd love to see the Saratoga Springs Public Library as a partner, but you all as individuals can be partners. And as an individual joining, you get a lot of very, very helpful information on how to talk about book bans, book challenges, and things of that nature. I want to sincerely thank you all for being fabulous advocates for your library, being fabulous advocates for libraries and library services for everyone. And being a trustee isn't easy, I know from experience, and I appreciate that you're willing to serve your community in this capacity. All right, I'm braced. Ask the questions.
First, while you're here and Ike is here, which of those Ike is the library a member of separate than us as individuals?
We are the institutional member of the New York Library Association, and that's the only one of our institution.
Okay. So I will pull up the ALA, the NILA, and the Unite Against Book Bans things for all of you as trustees and send it to you so you have it in one place.
Joining ALA as a trustee is a lot less expensive than what it costs Jennifer, me, I.
Right, okay, and then you can make a choice, I'm not saying you need to do it, but then you're not researching all of it yourselves. So I guess a little update on, the piece with the changes with Schenectady leaving. We have discussed this as a board, but a couple of months ago when it was unclear what was happening, and then I think I read somewhere that they're delaying. And so Ike had indicated that it wasn't gonna really impact us too much and that a lot of people from our library aren't borrowing a lot of materials from them. It might be more of an impact on their side to not get materials from us. But there were gonna be questions about services and changes in services. And so I guess if you wanna just give us a little update on that without us needing to know all the details.
The state library, the Division of Library Development said, please try to work this out. Don't become this drastic. So from the SALS and BLS side, Mohawk Valley Library System is our cousin. We do the joint automation together, which makes it a little less expensive than if each system did it themselves. We are working to come up with ways to encourage the conversation, to see how we can meet some of the things that they were asking about. I know, Don, you're on the IT, and there's an IT ad hoc committee that has a charge, and they're looking at ways to address some of the concerns Schenectady had with the IT and being able to have a parallel IT. For all those that are somewhat interested, the Schenectady County did a parallel network to duplicate the work that's already done with the network. So we're trying to see how it could all work together nicely. We're not coming up with solutions, but we're doing the research so we can talk about it with some sense of knowledge, more fact-based. So that's one thing. Another thing is Schenectady was concerned with some of the settings of the catalog, the ILS, the catalog. And there's a group looking at that and working with ways that we, perhaps have a compromise, so it's better for all. And let me just step back and say, it's not a bad idea to look at things to see if it's done the right way. So I welcome this opportunity to be able to look at things with a different set of eyes with it. There's going to be a finance ad hoc committee to see about JA fees. The Schenectady County Public Library did not sign the joint automation contract. And in it, they said they are leaving on September 4th. I don't think they're there yet, but I'm not privy to how they think. We consider this an important ad hoc committee. The SAL's treasurer, Bob Jeffords, is on it. The SAL's finance person, Colleen Smith, is on it. And a new trustee, Tom Saginaw, is also on it. So we populated, people volunteered to be populated. And I think this is a nice way that we can hear Schenectady's concern, because they have two trustees on that particular ad hoc committee.
Can I just interrupt you for a second to just clarify that the Schenectady library is then not the only library that is a member of the Mohawk library system.
Right, there are 14-member libraries.
And so you saying Sal's trying to be in relationship to the Mohawk library system as this kind of cousin relationship is separate from the issues that are happening with Schenectady pulling out of the joint automation project, right? Or are they overlapping? Is my question making sense?
It is, let me just think about a way to say it. 40 years ago, the Southern Adirondack Library System and the Mohawk Valley Library System decided to pool resources
Okay,
and provide the joint automation. So when you take your library card, there are 8 counties worth of public libraries. So it's our Hamilton, Warren, Washington, and Saratoga counties libraries. We have 34 libraries and 1 library has a branch. So that's the Southern Adirondack side. The Mohawk Valley Library System is Schenectady, Montgomery, Schoharie, and Fulton counties. So all 8 holdings, all 8 counties of library holdings are in the catalog that you.
I see. And so the question then would become if Schenectady pulls out of the joint automation, we would still be left with the resources of Mohawk, Montgomery, Fulton, I'm not sorry, for the others outside.
The other 3 counties.
Yeah, the 3 counties, right, okay. And then across the state, obviously these library systems, then there's other combinations of,
No,
so Sal's and Mohawk are the only ones that exist? The western part of the state and things don't have such a thing?
no, they have individual,
They have individual.
well, whatever their service area is, yeah. I think Barry Nicolau and Michael Connor, the directors at the time, were very forward thinking, saying, what's the most sustainable and the most affordable way to provide these services?
Yeah,
Because there's only 1 automation staff, right? And instead of duplicating it.
yeah, wow, that's interesting, okay.
That's a great question. So right now, the Upper Hudson Library, this is more library politics than I think anybody, it's more politics than I want to know. And right now, the Schenectady County Public Library asked the Upper Hudson Library System, which is similar, it's a cooperative public library system like Sal's is and what Mohawk Valley is. They asked to join the ILS. And then they also, well, that's what I'm going to say. They
Yeah.
asked to join their ILS.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for, who's the Upper Hudson?
Upper Hudson is similar to Sal's, but they provide similar services as we do to you, to the libraries in Albany County and Rensselaer County. So the Capital District could be Mohawk Valley, Sal's, and Upper Hudson. And there are 23 public library systems. And now you know 3.
You're gonna test us, aren't you? I can just feel it.
But those are good questions. I get so into the weeds because I live it. I've lived it for many, many years. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain it, I think, in a little clearer way.
Yeah, well, it helps because then when we get updates from Ike, which he has been giving us updates, but it helps to just have, and we'll have to hear it many times in many different ways. Ike is so patient with us to give us those umbrellas periodically, so we understand how it works and what's going on.
Do you have anything to add to the report that I just gave about this?
No, except I know there are initialisms and all of that stuff. So ILS stands for Integrated Library System. So that's the combination of the patron database and the catalog and the circulation function, all of that stuff. So
Which is, what is the equivalent called in,
for us, the system is Polaris.
okay, that's the same as Polaris.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you really want to know, Upper Hudson is called Ulan. UHLAN. I'm sorry. Now you're in the weeds too.
That's all
With
right,
all
we
of
won't
the-
remember and we'll be like, what was that? Okay, any questions for Sarah while she's here, anybody? Raise your hand. Go ahead, Carol.
I hope this doesn't seem like a clueless question. But where joint automation is concerned across the state. For what our library has become a part of jointly automated. I was just wondering about the whole state of New York. And if, there might be a potential to, to continue to automate beyond what exists.
It is a possibility. When Upper Hudson was looking for a new vendor, we reached out and said, hey, at least go with the same vendor we are, so we would talk better with each other. But we do lend in different ways. You could borrow a book from Albany Public Library. Might take longer to get, but you do have the capacity of borrowing from Albany Public or Guilderland or Bethlehem or Buffalo. But when you think how big New York State is, and just thinking about how big Sal's is geographically, for us, getting the delivery van from library to library to library in a useful and efficient manner, could you imagine having one for the entire state of New York?
I'm just wondering.
It's possible.
You're probably faster going to visit it yourself.
I mean, there are, like the state of Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, it's one system. And maybe
For all islands. Talk about complicated.
boats. Wow. Drones, I don't know, but they also have less. There are over 750 public libraries in New York State.
Okay. That's a good question.
Well, thank you. I was just thinking about scope.
Yeah.
And then when you look at New York Public, it's closer, but it probably takes longer to get from here to there because of the congestion in Manhattan and Staten Island and the Bronx. So they have their challenges as well.
Well, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Jean.
So, and I know you were just saying you're sharing the strategic plan you just put forth. And I was wondering if you could just sort of summarize, like I sort of view Saratoga and some of the other library systems seem to be more rural than we are specifically. And can you forecast some of the challenges that you think we'll all be facing, or trends that you're seeing? Like we've noticed, we've been measuring our trends in library usage and moving more towards electronic materials and much less towards hard copies of things. And so just wondering.
That's a great question. And the trend is in most libraries, the digital content is circulating more than the print content. In some of the more rural areas, I don't have broadband, so that doesn't count. They're back to the old way. But I truly believe this is that the services that are in some of our rural libraries, while their communities are smaller, they're providing similar services as you are here in Saratoga, but you might have 100 people coming in an hour and they might have 4. But it's that same high level. And the reason I say this, a lot of our smaller rural libraries are where people vacation. They either go there for the summer, or if there's snow people, they go there. And people are coming up from Westchester and New Jersey and Connecticut, and they're saying, wow, these services are as good as the services we get in our home library. And that plays out more and more. Is there something specific that you were asking?
Well, not really, but I was sort of thinking like about the challenges to the books and things like that. I mean, I know there was a very small library that actually had to close because of a program they presented and it split their whole library.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. That's what the papers want you to believe. It was because of a program. There were some more factors that I really can't get into, but it's right. That was a particularly touchy, volatile situation. For a lot of reasons, and that was the tip of the iceberg.
Mhm. So I was just wondering if the rural, you know, whether they're having more challenges, experience, you know, what they're experiencing.
That's the only real loud one that unfortunately made the New York Times. That's the loudest one. But if you look at the Bethlehem Public Library, they wanted to do a drag queen story time. And that was something, and then they did a program about Palestinian rights, and that was another very volatile. So libraries are in an interesting situation where you want to provide programs to the community that are of interest and are timely and topical. But there's so many hot buttons that libraries, regardless of where they are facing some. And I think you are so lucky that you have Ike as the director, and he can diffuse things before they actually. So a lot of it has to do with the talent of the director or the skill set of the director and the board who support the director. So a lot of it falls back on you and your fabulous governance.
And we've spent a lot of time over the past year organizing our thinking and our policies of, as a board around what supports already what is in place, so that we are prepared if people come forward, and our policies around public comment periods and what that looks like, and so that we won't be surprised if those things come our way.
And in democracy, it's okay to have differing opinions, but let's try to be civilized about
Right,
it.
and that was the concern, is what do we have in place that, and that we're not going to the staff all the time with, wait, so what's happened with this? And we have a flow chart of knowing where things have gone and where things have been discussed already. So, yeah.
So being prepared, like any, you should have a plan. You should
Yeah.
have a plan if there's a flood. You should have a plan
Right,
for all sorts of things, and knowing like he writes the best policies.
think we're, who knows, but we try, right? Right, okay. Anything else for Sarah?
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome
Thank
to reach out to me. I can go into more detail, and I really appreciate you giving so much of your time tonight.
Of course, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for coming.
I still have that too.
So my report is our next item on the agenda. First, I would like to express my gratitude for all the patience with the staff around the parking and the lot and the changes, and yes. So, and the system's being slow, or the system's not up, or all of those different pieces. So thank you to everybody for some extra patience while that's all being navigated. I also, it was in Ike's report as well that I was really happy to attend the Rotary Gala with Ike and Jen. And I got to hold a big check, not the real check. Yeah, and we had a really nice time. It was lovely, and Ike was honored as well separately for his work with the Rotary. And it was a who's who of our leaders. in the Senate and the House Assembly. I also want to just quickly draw the trustees' attention to, Sarah mentioned our requirement. I've been very quiet about our continuing education requirement, but there's a few things coming up that you might be interested in that relate to us. One is,
This is a calendar year.
yeah, this is calendar year, not by June, yeah, by December. The trustee handbook book club, which is what Sarah was referencing through Sal's, is doing a program Tuesday, June 18th. And all of these, if you register for them, you then get the recording and you don't have to do it at that particular moment. You can do it after. It is Libraries for the Future, an introduction to sustainability as the newest core value. Not so new around here, but may be of interest to you. The other is Board Revolution, Rethinking Nonprofit Governance for Organizational Impact. That is with Web Junction on June 13th. And they are also doing another one, June 26th, called Managing Effective Library Boards. So if either of those are of interest to you. Oh, yes, I will make sure I get that one. They're both on my schedule. Yeah, Jean?
What date was the Board Revolution in?
That is June 13th. And there was another one that happened around survey design. We don't do very much with that, but if you were interested in all on that, creative survey design happened on June 5th and you can still watch it. So as in the other things, just note, you know, if you attend it live, they'll send you a certificate of attendance. Otherwise, you just need to note for me which one you attended, through whom, what the time was. And then I put it in my file for Jen to receive, to submit to the state. And also by the end of the year, you'll need to be compliant with the different harassment trainings that we have for Kelly. So I'll resend those again, but if you do them for a different job, those will count as well.
Do those also count for the CD?
It's a little questionable. I think that they should, but, so the one is usually an hour, right?
Yeah.
So it would still mean you would need to do something else. Like I also count our retreat that we're having later, that's somewhat educational. I put that in, so I note the time that people attend that as well.
Are you sending the links to the ones coming up or?
I wasn't, do you want me to send them?
No, so I can find it. It's
Okay.
in the, right, it's in.
So the last two were Web Junction. If you go to
Okay.
Web
I've
Junction,
been to their
that's where
trainings.
Board Revolution is and Managing Effective Library Boards. And then the Trustee Handbook Book Club is the other one that's doing the Libraries for the Future. They're also doing one in the fall on governance structure. So that is it for my report. We have no public comment unless something was submitted. Well, no correspondence and communication.
But I do have an addition
Actually,
to that didn't make the agenda. We're notified by the lawyers at Miller, Mannix, Schachner, and Hafner that we have been named in the will of a Marilyn Peterson, who's not a person that's known to me, but it's got to go through probate and all that, but we were one of the beneficiaries of her will for a gift of $5,000.
okay.
I'll see.
I did receive. It did receive, it doesn't matter. I've never mind. So Ike, you're up next.
Oh. So, for the last few days, it's been all about parking.
We should just get you one of Lucy's and from Peanuts, get you a little stand outside and you can just be there to answer parking questions.
The good news is, and Trevor will have more to say about this, I think when the time comes, that the people coming in to register have been overwhelmingly positive about it and patient with the process. And just moments before this meeting started, Nancy was permit number 450.
Okay.
Um,
And I saw the signs that you put out there, and I know I read in your report that we don't have the others. Have you considered also just putting a flyer on like when I was here yesterday to do it at 12:10, there were 2 spaces left in the entire lot,
Right.
and they were not in the library.
Right,
And so people getting used to that piece of I can't park here,
right.
who work downtown.
We did do that on Wednesday, so we leafleted all of the cars in. What's been happening since Wednesday is it's been raining nonstop.
Okay.
That Schmuck things on people's windshields because they don't like that. And I
Right.
think, and we've also been registering a lot of people, and so what we don't know at this point is, are we leafleting somebody who's already come to register? And that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but
Well, and it may be that you just go out at 9:15, so that you know that they're not,
Right.
or 9:05 when they're not in the library yet to. What's that?
Did the system start citywide yet? It didn't happen.
so,
till
so
today.
no, so enforcement hasn't started, there are no pay boxes anywhere. I don't know about the license plate readers, if those, maybe Heather knows that they exist, but if they're in use, I don't.
They do exist, and they have to have a couple of approvals on the city council agenda next week in order to start, so I believe it'll start next week. Okay,
So if
after
we,
Tuesday.
if we just heard from DPW today about where the location of the pay box will be here.
Okay,
So it'll be at the bottom of the ramp.
okay,
Okay,
and so they'll just do a single one,
yes, yeah.
okay. Great,
May I
Yes, Carol.
ask a question, please? Now, I did read the emails, but I'm a little confused now. We still have to go through a city hall process, even if we've done our library piece?
So there are at least 3 different permits that people are eligible for. One is for, yes, there's one is for the library parking lot, and this only permits you to park in the library parking lot, doesn't permit you to park anywhere else. And then there's one for the city parking lots, then there's a web portal to go through to do that, or you can go to the DPW while they're open. And that's a separate permit, and that only permits you to park in the city-owned lots. And then there's if you're a member of the general public, and then there's a third one, which doesn't really make any sense for you to do the resident and the third one, but it's for people who work in the downtown urban area, who are generally who work for DBA members or who work in the SAD, which is a very sad acronym, which is the special assessment district. So downtown, so it's a limited geography.
and have they though announced exactly where that parking will be, because that's not
Thank you.
every spot across every garage, I don't think.
It will be in any of the municipal lots, and so I guess
Okay.
at some point there was a plan to segregate that
Yes,
parking.
right.
And I think they've abandoned that idea of
Okay.
segregating, so it'll all be through these license plate readers, so you can park in any of the municipal lots and the reader should know that you've got that. And the way that registration is done is by your employer, so there's nothing that you should have to do except provide your information to your employer. So Kelly gathered up all of that stuff for us.
And the DPW, I'll tell you, the library registration was much smoother than the online for the city lots.
Right, because you have to upload documents and do complicated things, and then get an email and then wait for them to do the approval and get back to you. And there has been a little bit of confusion about that because they're using, the software is kind of canned, it's out of the box software. So it's sending messages that are kind of generic and untrue. So
That's how.
But so,
Thank you.
like it initially said that we would get back to you with a permit to print out, and there's no
There's
permit
no
that needs
printed
printing
permit.
out, and so
Right.
people are very confused about that.
It's only for residents though.
That one through the city is only for residents.
Right.
Downtown urban core employees, you could live
Of course.
anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And then for the lot, it's for residents of the school district.
Oh,
For the
yeah,
library,
yeah,
for the library.
Yeah, sorry, right.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
You're welcome. There was, I did notice I got some things a little mixed up in my report. Our bench is arriving next Monday, not today. Today
Okay.
we received furniture for the, Crawshaw Story Room refurbishment. I had my delivery dates
Okay,
switched around, but the bench should be installed next Monday.
okay, nice. Any other questions for Ike? All right, Jen, is there anything you want to draw our attention to in your report?
No.
Okay.
Just traveling a lot.
Did you plant your seeds? Did you
Yeah,
plant?
there you
Yeah,
are.
so, yes, you can go visit our garden and it's weeded and it's been watered and loved by many.
Nice.
We don't have. I did put watermelon in last week. That'll be interesting.
Any questions for Jen? Don, is there anything you want to share?
Not in particular, the visit, from Sarah was, this kind of ties into my first little run-on thought there about cell checks, the partnership with SALS and JA, the joint automation, they make my job easier because I don't have to know all of that Polaris interaction, all the different, minutia of how Polaris needs to connect up to our particular equipment. I can focus on, the general networking and general hardware, all the stuff that, keeps me busy day to day. So, that I was just trying to point out that we work hand in hand with JA, and it's a very good relationship.
Great. Yeah. Any questions for Don? Trevor? You're not hiding under the table. Let's hear about the parking, so.
Any questions? I mean, I have to say, it's funny, the launch day last Wednesday, which was the Belmont Broadway day. We started right at 9 o'clock, people were there at 9, and it seemed to go very smoothly that first day. And we all finished up at 5 and said, wow, like that was all right. And then I was not there Thursday or Friday. On Thursday, circulation said there were some changes. They all made a big pivot due to some changes in procedure, and just, it was like, everybody's just like, yeah, the only way out is through, man. We're just, this is what we're doing. And so it's been, steady all through the weekend. I got here at 1 o'clock and I was immediately on the desk helping cover from 1 to 3 and just permit after permit. And man, not only has the staff been awesome, it's like, I don't know, part of it is like, the repetition, they got it. It's also survival to deliver that clear, consistent message. But they're just going at it, and the people have been overwhelmingly pretty great. There was one gentleman out this afternoon, and he's, we hit save, and I said, it's 60 to 90 seconds, I just want to make sure it goes through, and I don't want you to walk away and then have something happen, and so I can tell starts doing the shoulder shuffle and the antsy fingers, and of course then I start doing the antsy, and I said, you know what, I promise you, this is gonna be the longest minute of your day, but after this, it's all smooth sailing, it'll be great. He laughed, the tension was diffused, not tension, but I mean, like, the antsy moment was diffused. He smiled and kind of shrugged and says, all right, cool, thanks, man. And then walked off, and I think we're all having a lot of these similar experiences with people, so everyone is kind of in this crush together. And it's sometimes it's been hard. We've had to say no to some people who have, are looking for some kind of exception for one of many different reasons, some that seem and feel like really good reasons. And not right now, you know, this is new, we're working through this, and this is who we can issue a permit to and who we can't. So, yeah, it's been, it is what it is, I mean, it's all right, we're gonna get there, you know, and it's just gonna be incorporated into.
Well, and I've been saying to people, and then we'll see what happens, and next year
That's it.
maybe it's gonna be different, but you
Yeah.
can't, until you've started something, you have no idea.
How do you deal with the ex libris exception? What are people showing you for that? Like,
We have access to the Friends membership database, at least Ann and I do, and so, I mean, if somebody
okay,
says, oh, I'm an ex-Libris member. Where I haven't seen anything yet, and I also don't know if there's something that they're able to print, but I know we can go to, they use a program called City. We can go to City, look them up, look up their status, and then also too, as part of being an ex-Libris member, that gets represented in their account. It changes their expiration date so that their expiration date is 1 year, it's like 1 year plus. I don't know, there's a bit of a grace period in there too for the membership re-up, but, and it can be represented there, and we can issue them that way. So I haven't personally done one on an ex libris yet, but I have heard the words ex libris come out of people's mouths more. Like, yeah, we're gonna look into it. Okay, wonderful.
Good. Any questions for Charlie?
And we did a quick look today to see of the 450 permits, how many new library cards we had,
Oh,
and it was 35, was that the answer, Jen, since we started, so the vast majority of these stores are already library cards.
great.
great.
Catherine, and another big busy part of the library, so come before the really big busy part of the library. How are you doing down there?
It's great. We're having a lot of fun downstairs. We finished our story time season in mid-May to make room for school visits. And I have to say that I'm always very hopeful when I tell everybody that we're taking this little break. That's not a break, but there are 8 schools in our school district. Last year, I believe we visited 3 in person. This year, we're visiting 6. So we've got almost everybody on our school district. And we provided the video to anybody who couldn't accommodate us. So right now, I don't think we've had to say no to anybody yet. I mean, maybe someday we wish it was a lot, but everybody, even me, we're all going. So I'm hoping that means we're gonna have a really fun summer. Our goal for summer reading is to have more people participate, but also more people actively participate. My staff has been teasing me about statistics lately, like, but I think they're helpful. And one of the things that I always look at is how many people sign up, but then never come back. And like a lot of those people got a free book from us, so I feel like that's still a win because any book that I give out is an opportunity that a child is reading. But every time they actively participate, they're getting more out of the program, they're visiting us more, so it increases our ability to impact their life. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a really fun summer. I know people are nervous about all the parking, but so far so good.
Good. And cute video introducing the summer reading.
And if anyone would like to be a superstar next year, me in the video, you let me know.
Okay.
For everybody.
You never know. Anybody have questions for Catherine?
When is school actually out? Are they not
A
out
couple
yet?
more weeks.
The 21st is officially the end.
We met the lady with the neurodiversity club at dinner.
Yeah.
And that the dog Hope, is there more than one dog in the program? Or just Hope?
So Hope was just a one-time visitor. So they kind of do a combination of activities at the club because the club meets every month. So like they had a special Olympian visit 1 month, and so Hope was just a special visitor. We do have a variety of therapy dogs that come regularly to read either with the kids or the teens, but Hope is just a dog I train.
That's nice.
And Jamie's not here for her report. She sent us an extra note if you didn't have a chance to see upstairs that the Saratoga room, staff in Saratoga room and the adult services put together a Belmont display of materials and there were some photographs of the recovery sources and yeah, actually so. So anything else that wasn't in here that has come up since and she's not here, I bet.
I don't think so, but I think a real highlight that's, she draws out in her report here, was that Read to Recovery launch event was pretty extraordinary. With, and if you haven't had a chance to look at the collection up there, it's got a ton of great resources. But we really did, I mean, if anything brings people with different points of view together, apparently it's recovery, because there were people from the police, the sheriff, the Healing Springs, the library, the county health department, and everybody was really all there for a shared purpose, and it was a great event.
That's great. Well, it's also great since they're all in different places that they can share that it exists
Right.
from the different work they do. It's great. Rick?
Before I get started, talking about the parking permit. Because today potentially was the first day, I noticed a difference, which I think is good for our patrons. There were 14 parking spots still empty at 10:30 this morning on the north end. I'm like, what's going on?
Nobody likes that song today?
We all tried to get the message out to the contractors, to the other workers and say, you know, pay attention because it's gonna be on you now.
Great,
And that's better for the patrons.
good.
So I think that's good. Other than that, we are busy.
Yeah, so the
with
story
staff.
room and the inside
Yeah,
stuff.
the story
and
room
outside
is
stuff.
a bit more work. But we'll get there. It's just staffing and trying to make sure all our other timely projects are done and we're prepping because fire marshal will be here. You know, there's just a few checklists to go through and check again. All good.
Good. Any questions for Rick? Okay. We have no special or committee reports. We have no unfinished business and we already had our visit with Sarah. So we are adjourned. The board and executive. Yeah, that was in my email to you that it is, it's in their hands with their attorney. So we'll